Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so let's recite this verse number 9. Can you see my screen? Can anyone tell me if you can see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu, your screen.
Okay. Thank you. Please recite after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Anye cha Bhavashura. Madarthe tyakta jivitaha. Nana shastra praharanaha. Sarve yuddha visharadaha. Anye cha Bhavashura. Madarthe tyakta jivitaha. Nana shastra praharana. Sarve yuddha visharadaha. Can you please recite?
Anyecha Bhavashura.
Anyecha Bhavashura.
Madarthe tyakta jivata.
Madarthe tyakta jivitaha.
Nana shastra pararana.
Nana shastra praharana.
Sarve yuddha visharada.
Sarve yuddha visharada.
Anyecha Bhavashura.
Anyecha Bhavashura.
Madartha tyakta jivita.
Madarthe tyakta jivita.
Nana shastra praharana.
Nana shastra praharana.
Sarva yuddhi visharada.
Sarve yuddha visharada.
Anyecha Bhavasura.
Anyecha Bhavasura.
Madarthe tvaktata jivita.
Madarthe tyakta jivita.
Nana shastra parharana.
Nana shastra praharana.
Sarve yuddha visarada.
Sarve yuddha visharada.
Anyecha Bhavasura.
Anyecha Bhavasura.
मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविता
मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविता
ज्ञानशस्त्रप्रहराण
नानाशस्त्रहरणा
सर्वे युद्धविशारदा
सर्वे युद्धविशारदा
अन्ये च भवशूरा
अन्ये च बहवः शूरा
मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविता
मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः
नानाशस्त्रप्रहाराणां
नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणा
सर्वे युद्धविशारदा
सर्वे युद्धविशारदा. Very nice. Thank you. I loved all those little angels reciting Sanskrit verses. It was so nice. Okay. Any of the little children? Do you want to read the translation and purport?
Prabhuji, can I read the translation?
Okay. Go ahead.
There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science.
Thank you. Anyone would like to read the purport, please?
As far
Okay,
as the other are concluded like Jayadratha, Kritavarma and Shalya, all are determined to lie down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was, of course, confidently of his victory on attracting account of the above material mentioned combined strength of his friends.
Sorry, Prabhuji, she was so excited.
That's okay. Thank you, Tulsi. Enthusiasm. You have a lot of enthusiasm. You inspire us. Thank you. Okay, so we are continuing chapter number 1. We had a very good starting from verse number 1. Ganapati Govinda Prabhu gave wonderful history of Mahabharata in the first session, and Pyari Mohan Prabhu spoke on some of the verses yesterday, and also he emphasized the attitude that we need to have, because we are seeing various things in Mahabharata, various behaviors. Even Yudhishthira had to, say a lie to be able to defeat Dronacharya. But Pyari Mohan Prabhu explained how Yudhishthira only did that because Krishna personally came and told him, you must do this. So Prabhu mentioned that that should be our attitude. We should follow truthfulness. But when instructed by Krishna, Krishna's words are the ultimate dharma. And whatever Krishna says, we should be ready to do. So previous verses, so what is going on so far? What has happened? Would anyone like to say in few words what has happened so far?
I think so. What has happened in the last verses, Duryodhana was explaining the strength of both of the armies.
Yes. So just prior to that, it began with Dhritarashtra asking Sanjaya what has happened after my sons and the sons of Pandu, they assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. What happened after that? And then Sanjaya started explaining that Duryodhana, he went to his teacher Dronacharya, and then he spoke to Dronacharya. However, it is assumed that there are others also over there listening to everything that is happening. Dronacharya is there, and Bhishma will be there, and so many others are present over there. And Duryodhana is addressing. So he started with mainly he's speaking with the Acharya, Dronacharya, and then he's assessing the army on both sides. Who did he specifically mention on the other side?
Drupada and Drishtadyumna.
He didn't quite mention Drupada, right? He mentioned Drupada Putra, Drishtadyumna. Yes.
I think there was a verse Drupadascha
Oh,
Maharaj.
I see. Okay. Yeah, eventually. Yeah. How
Yeah,
did he start?
Uttamacho
Yeah.
Prabhuji, he mentioned about Uttamacho.
Yes. So
And
he
he
started with
mentioned
Drishtadyumna, right?
Yeah, Tishtadamna, yes. He started with
Yes.
Tishtadamna.
And then you're right, he talked about both of you are saying like Drupada, Yuyudhana, Virata, but whom did he compare them with?
He compared them with Arjuna and Bhima. Bhima Arjuna Samayuddhi.
Exactly. So first of all, he went to Dronacharya and he incited a little bit of Dronacharya's anger. And Ganapati Govinda Prabhu described the history behind that and why he did that. And then when trying to compare the both armies, he used the benchmark. You know, in any business, you have a benchmark, right? So they do competitor analysis. If your product has to compete in the market, you need a benchmark. So they bring, top few of them and say, these are the people, and now we are here on the list, and we need to rise. We need to go there. So in order to go there, what are some of the areas that we need to improve in, and who is the benchmark in each of those areas, and let us rise up to the challenge and let's go there, right? So this is how the leaders, they motivate everybody. So obviously here Duryodhana also has done all this, competitor analysis, what's going on. So his benchmark are Bhishma and Arjuna. And he's saying all these people here, they are no less than Bhima and Arjuna. Bhima, Arjuna, Samayuddhi. On the battlefield, they are equal to Bhima and Arjuna. So he has described various people. And after doing that, then he's saying, for your information, listen to who is very capable on our side. So he's actually addressing Dronacharya, because you see even in the verse number 7, he is still, oh best of the Brahmanas, Tan Nibodha Dvijottama. I'll tell you, Sanyartham, I'll tell you all the people that are very capable of leading my military force. However, when he's doing that, as I said, there are others also present when he's doing this thing. So then the last verse yesterday that Pyarimohan Prabhu has read. So in there it was mentioned about Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta, whose name is Bhurishrava, who are all Samitinjayaha, Yuddhe Visharadaha. So they're all very expert, and they are, always victorious in the battle. And in this context, Pyarimohan Prabhu also told the story of Dronacharya a little bit. So let's analyze the way Duryodhana is functioning in this chapter. Duryodhana is very, very expert. He's expert at diplomacy, Duryodhana. You could see this as a fight between the character of the Pandavas and the competence and the skills of Arjuna. In order to be successful in any field, we see in some of the management courses, there are two things, competence and character. We need a skill to perform an activity, but along with that, we need character to be able to truly successful. We may, through bad means, try to succeed and get something, but in order to be truly successful, character is must. So Duryodhana, his competence is so high. You could see all of the traits that can be described in the management classes. You can find in Duryodhana how he's so resourceful, how he's able to gather everybody together. And now he's saying about his strengths, what he has accomplished so far. How many Akshauhinis of army did Duryodhana have?
11.
11. And the Pandavas?
7.
7. I mean, look at that. In spite of the Supreme Personality of Godhead being present on the side of Arjuna, and Krishna also actually tells Arjuna, you go, you talk to these people, you recruit them on your side, right? Krishna is guiding. But look at this, Duryodhana, he's so competent, he was able to grab Krishna's own army, right? One Akshauhini from Krishna. And he was also able to do other things, which I'll mention in the next verse. This is the potency of Duryodhana's skills, how skillful Duryodhana is, so competent in accomplishing, what he wants to do. So even in talking, in speaking these verses, you can see how careful he is. Who is the very first person he went to? Dronacharya. But we had this discussion about who is the commander-in-chief of the Kauravas?
Bhishma.
But nonetheless, he went to Dronacharya. And even here, when he is listing the people who are very capable on his side, he started with Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitinjayaha Ashwathama Vikarnascha Saumadattis Tataivacha. Who did he start with? Bhavan. Bhavan means you. Look at my capable army, and you are there on my side, Bhavan. And who is number 2? Bhishma. And who is number 3? Karna. Now, all these 3 people, they were the commanders in chief in the Mahabharata. They'll be Bhishma Parva, Drona Parva, and Karna also leads. And towards the end, who leads? Shalya. And does Ashwatthama also lead once? One day or something?
Yeah, one day.
So,
on the last day.
Yeah. So you see, he's mentioning all these names, but he's carefully starting with Dronacharya. Now, between Drona and Bhishma, who is more powerful?
Bhishma.
Right? Bhishma, he's the commander-in-chief, he's very powerful. But however, Dronacharya is a Brahmana, is equally powerful, but he's very powerful, but Bhishma is more important here. I mean, he has so many powers and he cannot die. But he mentioned Dronacharya first because Bhishma will not mind putting Drona before, because Drona is a Brahmana. And now Bhishma and Karna, particularly, they also don't like each other. Karna refused to fight until Bhishma gives up fighting. And now Duryodhana would offend Karna if he gives more importance to Bhishma. But however, Karna will understand Bhishma is elder to Karna. You could see that the Vedic culture is still preserved at that time of Mahabharata. There is certain etiquette. A Brahmana is respected, and then there's Kshatriya, and the relationship of elders versus younger people. All these things, Duryodhana, he knew them, but he used them for his advantage, for his evil deeds. He used all these sentiments and everything for a wrong purpose, but you could see how he's applying all of these things while he's speaking carefully and while he's motivating all his team members to accomplish a particular job. So then he also mentions one person's name, Vikarna. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana. Actually, he's not so powerful. The only reason he mentioned Vikarna's name, a lot of times, in companies, you get promotion, whether you do very good job, and sometimes even if you do a good job, you may not get promotion unless you ask for it. And sometimes even if you ask for it, you may not get it. But if you tell your boss that you have another job, what will he do? If you tell him you got hired someplace else, then in order to retain you, he may offer to make you, I'll give you promotion, please stay. Right? I hope some of you can agree with me. This is a common thing. They call this as a flight risk. In corporation, they call this as flight risk. If there is a flight risk, means if someone is leaving, the company, they will, promote that person so that they can retain the talent. So here, Vikarna, when Draupadi was disrobed, the 100 Kauravas, I should say 100 Dhartarashtras. This word Kaurava is very broad. We tend to use it for these things, but in Bhagavad Gita, the word that is used is Dhartarashtra, means the children of the Dharashtra. So there were 100 of them, and Vikarna actually opposed Draupadi being disrobed. He stood up and he said, what we are doing is wrong. This should not be done to Draupadi. So now Duryodhana knows, just before everybody is going to shoot the arrows and conch shells blow, Yudhishthira is going to come up there and say, we're going to start the battle. One last time I'm saying, think who is right, think whose side you want to fight. And I'm giving you one last chance. Please, you can come over on this side if you so wish. This is going to happen before the fight begins. One last call. And Vikarna may switch the sides. And then what will happen to the morale of the team? Duryodhana's own brother is going on other side. Why should he support this evil-minded Dhritarashtra? The Dhritarashtra's are Duryodhana, right? So he has to protect this confidence of the team. So therefore he slurps Vikarna in the list, even though not such a big guy. So these are the diplomatic of Duryodhana, very skilled, very competent in trying to, keep the team together, motivate them towards the cause. He's doing all these things. But as I said, his character is the one that's not right. And that's the reason he gets defeated, even though he has everything. So in the verse that we read today, he's saying not only the people that I have mentioned, but there are many other heroes. Anyecha bahavaha shuraha. Bahavaha means many. There are many more heroes, right? Very capable. And how capable they are? They are ready to lay down their lives. They'll fight to death for me. So determined, right? It's not that they came for something and now they'll be scared and run away. No, they are very, very determined. So these team members are so powerful, they will not go home, they'll skip their lunches, they'll be on call for the night, they can do anything team, right? We are the great team. So this is how, Duryodhana is speaking in front of his teacher and others. In industry, like at my company, our CEO, after the big team meeting of thousands of people, he'll lead everybody, or he'll ask one of his executive members to lead them into a cheer. They say, go Micron, right? Everybody, right? We got to do this, motivation. So here, Duryodhana, so that others may not feel that they are any less, he's saying there are many more great heroes and they're ready to die for me. Tyakta jivitaha. So here also Prabhupada is saying that all of them would die in the battle for the sake of sinful Duryodhana. So here the word jivitaha means, one of the meaning is they are ready to die, but it also could mean they already died. Tyakta jivitaha means, tyakta means they already given up their life. Tyakta jivitaha. So Prabhupada is saying they would die in the battle for joining sinful Duryodhana. So Prabhupada is using more, this is a prophecy. This is a prophecy that they will die. And in this Anye, the list Anye, Srila Prabhupada is saying who these Anye are. Jayadratha, Kritavarma and Shalya. And the Acharyas also give these names, these three particular names. So they are very powerful. And two interesting names in this one is Kritavarma and Shalya. So Kritavarma, we know he's actually one of the Yadus. When Krishna gave one of his Akshauhini, Kritavarma is the leader of that army. And does anyone know who Shalya is?
Duryodhana's sister's husband.
That is
Dusala's husband?
Shalya is Nakul Sahadev's mother's brother.
Yeah, so he's the uncle. Right? He's Madri's brother. Madri's brother, Shalya. So he was actually coming to fight on behalf of the Pandavas. But what happens is Duryodhana, he knows everybody's weakness and strength and all these things. He's very good at understanding people. In business, there's something called SWOT analysis. Does anyone know what SWOT stands for? SWOT.
Strength, weakness, opportunity, and
threat, right? So Duryodhana knows what are the strengths in his team. And even for other people, what is their weakness? What all opportunities he has, and what are some of the threats that he need to be cautious about. I think someone is singing Narsingha prayer. Okay, thank you. So he knew Shalya is coming. Here is an opportunity for me to make him somehow shift the sides, right? But how will I make him shift the sides? What is his weakness? So Kshatriyas, if they give a word, they will keep the word, right? And if you praise them nicely, they'll be pleased. When the thing Kshatriyas needs is often, you see many kings in the morning, there will be people who will wake them up by praising them. Even Krishna will be woken up like that. Some of you, if you know Balaji, Suprabhatam, of course, that was actually spoken by Vishwamitra in order to wake up Lord Ramachandra. Uttishta, Uttishta, Kamalakanta, Uttishta, how does it go? Trilokyam Mangalam Kuru. So when we work, you get up and you do Mangalam for the entire world. So the king will be woken up by being glorified of all his chivalrous activities and everything like that. So it's a natural thing for Kshatriyas. They need this motivation about their glories so that they can fearlessly go and do their things. So anyway, when Shalya was coming to Hastinapura to join the Pandavas, what happens is Duryodhana, in between, he sets up a camp and he welcomes. He'll have his people, welcome Shalya and is everything okay? Please take some rest. Here you go. Very nice food and recreation and everything. He really gives such a good reception and hosting and everything by intercepting in between. Then Shalya thinks this must be done by Yudhishthira. He must have arranged things for me. Says, whoever has done this for me, I'll do whatever they ask for. And then Duryodhana comes, uncle, thank you. I'm so pleased. And you are such a great person. You never take back your words. You please fight on my behalf. He grabs Akshauhini, right? So he gathers like this many places. He uses all the opportunities by understanding their weaknesses and gets everybody on his side. These are very powerful people. Jayadratha, Kritavarma, Shalya. So if you have more time, I'll go back and tell stories about Kritavarma and Jayadratha also. So we'll do 2 more verses today. So 10th verse, Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam paryaptam tvidametesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. Okay, anyone would like to read the translation and purport?
I can read.
I
The other
Okay.
kid can read.
Yeah, someone would like to read, children, I think. I'll let them read.
Translation. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfect, protected by grandfather Bhishma. Where is the strength of the Pandavas? Carefully protected by Bhishma and limit.
Bhima is limited. Thank you, Tulsi. Thank you for the translation. Anyone else would like to read the purport?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can read.
Okay, Chaitanya.
Okay. Purport by His Divine Grace Says Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Herein, an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, Grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general, Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima, because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained.
Thank you. So now, remember who was the benchmark of Duryodhana?
Bhima and Arjuna.
Yeah, Bhima and Arjuna, right? So again, he's bringing up aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam paryaptam tvidam balam bhima bhirakshitam. Duryodhana cannot get Bhima of his mind. What was the reason?
He was envious of Bhima.
Envious. And there's also another reason.
Yes, another reason is that Bhima would kill him, I think.
Yes, if at all he had to die. Because Bhima, he made a promise that he will kill all the sons of Dhritarashtra. And he's the one who actually kills all the sons of Dhritarashtra, Bhima. Arjuna's help is there all along. But who took down all the sons of Dhritarashtra? This was Bhima. When that gambling match happened, when Draupadi was insulted, it was Bhima again and again who showed his anger. Even when Draupadi was, when they were in exile, they go to, is it Virata's? Yeah, they go to Virata's place. And there was one guy, what was his name? Kichaka. There may be another name also. So he also tried to, he also tried to, have an affair with Draupadi. And Bhima is the one, even though he was in disguise, Draupadi knows Bhima is the one I can, motivate to attack and kill. So Bhima kills him. So Bhima is always there. He is going to take the revenge. If there is anyone amongst all the Pandavas who is, so fierce, the very name Bhima means terrible, is very, very powerful, very terrible. And Bhima is not at all cool-headed. He's very hot-tempered, right? And Bhima's war cry is so powerful when he shouts on the battlefield. Unless they are courageous warriors, they have to pee in their pants. So powerful. And who is helping Bhima in his war cry?
Hanuman?
Yes, Hanuman. Hanuman is present with Bhima when he's making his war cries. Bhima is very, very powerful. And when Pandavas, they lose in a gambling match and they were, going to go to the forest, Dushasana was so bad. He was taunting them. He was asking Draupadi, why are you going with them? You choose one of the husbands. They are useless now. Choose one from amongst us as your husband. And Bhima makes a promise. I will rip off your heart and I'll drink your blood. And still they were taunting them. And again, Bhima makes a promise. I'll kill all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. He'll go to the king, he'll go to Dhritarashtra. I'll kill all your 100 sons. Vidura, Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, they had their heads bowed down and tears in their eyes, and they were angry why Dhritarashtra is not saying anything. And because, Yudhishthira calmed down all the Pandavas, they would hear, but Bhima, he just cannot contain, and he's the one who made the vows. And once he said, I'm going to kill all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, and Karna, my brother Arjuna, will kill you. And when he made that, Arjuna said, my brother's promise will not go in vain. Whatever he said will come to true unless you guys return our kingdom back after 14 years. If you don't, Bhima's words will always be true. And yes, as instructed by him, I will kill Karna. So it was Bhima who made these promises. Arjuna did not make the promises. So now there's another thing here. The word paryaptam and aparyaptam. So if you see, paryaptam is limited and aparyaptam is immeasurable. If you have seen some of the spoken Sanskrit that Sanskrit Bharati does, they may have somebody, eating dinner and the mother is serving and they say paryaptam, paryaptam. That means enough, don't give me any more. So here, then the Dronacharya and everybody may be thinking, how do you think we will win? His party may be thinking, how do you think we can win? You're saying all this. And the reason, and Duryodhana is telling them, the reason we can win is our strength is immeasurable. We are protected by Bhishma, and I named all of our warriors, and our strength is immeasurable. Look at Bhima. He's a fig in front of Bhishma. He's nothing in front of Bhishma. So that's one meaning, and that's what here Srila Prabhupada is also conveying, that in Bhishma's presence, Bhima is nothing. But there is another meaning given by some of the acharyas. So Baladeva and Srila Prabhupada, they both give this meaning. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura has another meaning for this. And also Sridhar Swami also has this kind of meaning. The word paryaptam can also be taken as samarthata, the capability. And aparyaptam is asamarthata. Means even though Bhishma is leading, we are asamartha. We are not capable of overpowering the Pandavas. And the reason is this, the acharyas explain. Bhishma's motivation is not so strong. He is in two minds. He made a promise. He has a duty towards the throne of Hastinapura. So therefore he has to protect it. But he's torn because he has so much affection for the Pandavas. So therefore his determination is not one. It's not focused. It's going in two different directions. But Bhima, he's fully motivated, single-pointedly focused. I am going to kill all these rascals who have done this to my brothers, who has done this to Draupadi, I am not going to let them go. Unstoppable force, single pointed focus Bhima has. And that single pointed focus, and he's motivated by his anger, by his determination, and he's so powerful. He's like a bulldozer coming towards the army of the Kauravas. He'll completely turn them into carpet. He's so powerful. So Duryodhana is fearful of this aspect. Therefore, the word Bhima actually sends tremors in his heart. It terrifies him, the word Bhima. So this is his analysis. And then we'll go to the next verse. Anyeshu cha sarveshu yata bhagamavastitaha bhishmameva bhirakshantu bhavantas sarva eva hi. Any of the children who did not read would like to read?
All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma, and as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the palace of the army.
Thank you. What's your name?
Radhika.
Radhika, how old are you?
6.5.
Jai, very nice. Thank you. Anyone else would like to read the purport?
Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, Kirti.
Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important. So in his actual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishma Dev was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man. So everyone especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes not leave their strategic positions and allow the enemy to break their phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of the Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishma Dev. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya in the battle because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice while she was being forced to appear naked in the presence of all great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that these generals would now completely give it up, as they had done during the gambling performances.
Thank you, Kirti. So now, he glorified, of course, he glorified lots of people. And then he may be, Duryodhana, as I said, he's a very good manager, how to keep people together. So as Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, he thought others may think they are not important, So therefore, he's saying, Yata bhagam avastitaha. You are all assigned particular positions in this phalanx. It's not just a random war, everybody just rushing in different directions. It is very systematically arranged, and the fighting should also happen in a particular way. The foot soldiers, they'll be fighting with the other foot soldiers, and those on horse chariots will be fighting with the charioteers. So many things, and not only that, one chariot will also be guarded by other people on the horse and the foot soldiers. So there's a specific arrangement that will happen on the battlefield. So therefore he's saying, Yata bhagam avastitaha. There's a specific strategy, specific duty assigned to you, and you all do it. But remember, Bhishma is our leader. Okay. So we have responsibility to give protection to Bhishma Dev because he is that main guy And indirectly, did Prabhupada mention it in here? Yeah, he was an old man, right? So he was an old man, he may caught up with something, and others may take advantage of that, and they may take down Bhishmadev. So you must be caring for Bhishmadev. Without you, Bhishmadev's service would be incomplete. Only with your help, Bhishmadev can succeed. So you are very important. So this is also a typical strategy. So at workplace also you see there'll be one position, say a leadership position, everybody will apply and one person will get it. And then the boss will have one-on-one with some of the people who also applied and say, you actually did very well, but that person, he has more experience, he's the senior, so we are offering the job to him. But look, you are very strong in these areas and he doesn't know these things. So the team can only succeed if your help is there. Without you, he's incomplete. Actually, with you, he'll make the full leader of the team. So in this way, they convey this message to others on the team so that they don't feel that, oh, I didn't get the job, so then they won't work against the leader. So these are all various diplomatic skills that Duryodhana is very good at these things. So from these, we should learn, even in our own lives, when we cultivate, what should we cultivate? Skills are necessary. But look, Duryodhana had all the skills, but still he didn't understand this point that we should do what Krishna wants us to do. So in our spiritual life also, the skills are not the center. The devotion, what Krishna is saying, what Srila Prabhupada is telling us to do, that is the main point. Everything else we do to enhance our service to Krishna. Of course, Arjuna also worked for skills. Krishna personally ensured that Arjuna is very good. He would go with Arjuna and see his hunting skills, whether Arjuna is doing it properly. It doesn't mean devotee should not learn skills. But the motivation is here, Arjuna was actually ready to give up the entire kingdom to Duryodhana. We'll see later. He was ready, even before and even after coming onto the battlefield. Because his interest was not in these material things, any position, any wealth. These were not the main things for Arjuna. For Arjuna, Krishna was the main thing. What is it that will please Krishna? That Arjuna was ready to do. So therefore, our life should also be centered around proper sadhana, proper Krishna consciousness. This should be our priority. What that means is, getting up in the morning, doing our rounds, doing some service. This is our priority. And extra time, everything, other things are next in the list. They will not go on the top. So this we should keep in mind. And as we have seen, so much skillful is Duryodhana to carefully protect his relationships, but all for the wrong purpose, not for the right purpose. So these are some of the things. And he also knew, like Prabhupada is saying, that Bhishma and Drona, they will fight because they did not say anything when Draupadi was disrobed. And that was the biggest thing, very difficult thing for anyone to even see. And the fact that they have seen it and did not do anything, and that's the reason their lives were taken away. Because it's actually also sinful to watch something and not say anything. But however, in the case of these great souls, they were born by other dharma, which was actually indirectly motivated by Krishna, so that Krishna can show that even though a person may have all powerful people on his sides, if dharma is not there, then they will not be able to win. So these are some of the things. I said I'll tell you a little bit about Jayadratha and Kritavarma also. We have 9 more minutes. If someone has any questions or comments, you can make. Then after that, if there's time, I'll talk about those two characters. So any questions or comments from anyone?
Just one question. Bhima did kill Vikarna also. You mentioned that Vikarna
Yeah,
was that.
yes, that's what I understand. He killed all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, because once you're on the other side, that's it, right? So it's a, for Kshatriyas, it's more like a game. The whole thing is like a game. That's why we see in the subsequent verses, they'll be playing of instruments and all these things. And that's what happens in a football match, right? We have the cheerleaders. It's the college kids, they work towards becoming a cheerleader. It's such a big position. So that, they dance and music and everything before the match. And same thing, this battlefield and everything, this was not at all boring. They would have people cheering and blowing trumpets and all these things and music and go and fight. So it's a match and they will kill. Once they make up their mind, this is my opponent and that's it.
Prabhuji, Kritavarma was the devotee of Krishna, right?
Yes.
Because I think he was the one in the Samantaka jail killing of Satyajit.
Correct.
Okay, so because of one Akshahoni, he went to the
yes. Yeah, he was the commander of that Akshauhini. So he goes on the other side. But he does, fight very hard against the Pandavas in several instances. And actually, so now because you brought up this topic, so when everything is done, and of course, Kritavarma is uncle. Kritavarma's son, Bali, he marries Rukmini's daughter. Krishna, with every wife, Krishna had 10 sons and 1 daughter. You see in Krishna book. So 16,108 wives and 10 sons and 1 daughter. So that would make it 160,000 his own children. 1.6 lakhs of just Krishna's family. And imagine how many teachers he need to have to homeschool. He had all the teachers coming home and teaching his kids. So anyway, so Kritavarma, his son marries Krishna's daughter, Rukmini's daughter specifically. And late Satyaki, he was fighting on the side of the Pandavas. So I mentioned that. So the Kritavarma is very close to Krishna's family in both ways because of that marriage, but he was also Yadu, like one of the uncles of Krishna. So at the end, when this, Maushala Lila happens, they all get drunk. And it was intoxicant meant for sacrifice. They just consume it in an excessive manner. It's a pastime. And when they get drunk, so the joking becomes a little bit, instead of a little joking. And sometimes when you joke with somebody, when the passion is too much, it goes, beyond the limits. Sometimes the kids may be saying something and stuff, and the adults may be trying to play with them, and kids may say something they shouldn't be saying, and then the parents will say, don't say that, you should say that. So it kind of crosses the limit. And then this Satyaki, he doesn't forget what Kritavarma has done. Actually, I believe Kritavarma kills or helps in killing Drishtadyumna and one more person on the side of the Pandavas. I forgot. So Satyaki, like, you, Kritavarma, you are such a coward. You don't even know how to fight. And you actually helped Ashwatthama to kill the sleeping kids of Draupadi. Disgusting, you, Kritavarma, how can you do this? And he insults Kritavarma because Satyaki didn't forget that incident. How Kritavarma, he fought on their side, but he even he helped Ashwatthama to kill a lot of sleeping soldiers and also the sons of Draupadi. And Satyaki is so mad at him after he got drunk. and he attacks Kritavarma, and he actually chops off Kritavarma's head to take revenge for that incident, that for him fighting on the battlefield here. And as soon as Kritavarma's other relatives saw what has happened, and they become angry, and they attack Satyaki, and Pradyumna runs to help Satyaki, but they kill Pradyumna and Satyaki. And then Krishna takes up some of the reeds which have grown from the that lump of iron ball. I'm assuming all of you know that story. If you don't, please stop and ask me. So when that was powdered and it was thrown away in the ocean, and then the reeds, Krishna takes them, and others also grab them. They start fighting and kill each other, and nobody is left except Krishna, Balaram, and they go away. So this is the fate of Kritavarma, and actually it serves as the entry point to that Maushal Leela. When that happens, Kritavarma fighting on the side of these things, not just fighting, but this killing of the sleeping people. And Satyaki never forgave Kritavarma. Internally, he breeded that anger. So thank you for asking that, Padmalochan Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for explaining very nicely.
Yeah. Anyone else? We have a few more minutes.
I had a question about the analysis of the order in which Duryodhana names the important people. I think after Karna, he mentions Kripacharya. Kripacharya was older than Karna, right?
Yes, but I don't think he's as competent. He was more of a Brahmana, right? So later he also becomes the chief Brahmana of the Kuru dynasty. Kripacharya's under Kripacharya's guidance, more like an advisor in the Brahmana role.
Okay.
But compared to Karna, he's not on that level.
Wasn't he the one who performed the rites for Parikshit?
I think yes.
I think Prabhupada says something about how Yudhishthira was so generous for allowing him, even though so many bad things happened to them.
Yeah, and that was a good observation, Subhabi. Yeah, so we have one more minute. Jayadratha, I think you all know Jayadratha. He couldn't win Draupadi as well in Swayamvara, but he had this lust for Draupadi. And when they were in exile, he sent secret messengers to have an affair with Draupadi. And Draupadi, disgustingly, he hated him like anything. But still, once when Pandavas were not there, he goes and he kidnaps Draupadi. He tries to get Draupadi. And Draupadi, I mean, she's a Kshatriya girl. She's not timid girl, right? So you could imagine she must have punched him and all that stuff. So Prabhupada says when Krishna leaves this world, Arjuna is remembering how Krishna has protected him, and he says how there are big heroes like Jayadratha and all these people were there, but Krishna helped me to win the battle. And there Srila Prabhupada talks about Jayadratha, a pretty big paragraph actually. He describes there about Jayadratha, and he says, Draupadi gave him a dash and he fell down, but then again he persisted and he grabs her, and at that time they were guided by Daumya. Daumya was a Brahmana priest. He helped Pandavas when they were in exile. So he also protested, but Jayadratha's lust was so powerful, it overcome his common sense, and he didn't even listen to the great soul like Daumya, and he grabbed her and he went, and then Bhima came, and he fights with him and pounds him and drags him, brings him, and of course they spare his life. Yudhishthira didn't want to kill him. They shave his head and they leave only 5 pieces of hair on his head. Kids can imagine. One hair here, one hair here, one hair here. So So they is somebody trying to say something? Somebody's playing background music for me. Anyway, so in this way, Jayadratha, they really put him to shame and leave him, and he becomes so embarrassed and vengeful, and he performs a lot of austerities. And he wanted a boon to defeat Pandavas from Lord Shiva. So he gets a boon that one day he can he cannot kill, but he can stop the Pandavas. He can overpower them for one day. And when Abhimanyu goes into Padma Vyuha, so Duryodhana's strategy was, because he had this boon, he should stop all the Pandavas. And he stops all the Pandavas. He resists the Pandavas at that time, and then no one can protect Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu dies in the Padma Vyuha. So then Arjuna takes a vow that he will kill Jayadratha. And Jayadratha was peeing in the pants, and he wants to run away from the battle. And Duryodhana grabs him and says, "You cannot run away." And he motivates him again, and somehow. And Jayadratha also had a boon that actually his father had a boon that his father says, anyone who makes Jayadratha's head fall on the ground, that person will die. This was Jayadratha's father's either boon or his curse or something that he had. So then Krishna tells the strategy to Arjuna: you kill Jayadratha, but make sure his head will fall so far away. His father is performing austerities, I believe in Himalayas. So you should throw his head so far that it will go into the lap of his father. So Arjuna shoots this arrow, and Jayadratha's head will be cut off, and his arrow is so powerful, it carries this head all the way onto the lap of the father of Jayadratha. And Jayadratha's father is like, "What is this on my lap?" And he throws it on the ground. And because he was the one who had this boon, or he made that curse, and when his head falls down, his father also dies. So this is the history of Jayadratha. And we are 3 minutes over. I'll stop here. Thank you very much, all the devotees, for your attention and association.
Hare Krishna, this is Rashraj.
Yes.
Like, before everyone leaves, I would like to give a quick announcement. So tomorrow there is no Bhagavad Gita class. Tomorrow Bhagavad Gita class is cancelled, and we have some special internal program. So all the devotee might have received the email about this. So please check your email and please join for that internal program. That's the one announcement. And second announcement is that on 1st of January, that is the new year, we are having beautiful, the programs which start at 10 o'clock. It goes till 4 o'clock. Then we have also a program 4 to 5. We have Aarti and Kirtans followed by that. So please join. I would request everyone to join both the program. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rashraj Prabhu. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnav ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, very nice class.
Very nice class.